Merry Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Friday.
And a happy new weekend.
We're going on to the weekend here. It's the first weekend of 2019 that's not a holiday.
I think my thing's running out of juice.
Yeah? What do you mean, running out of juice, Ed? You're running out of juice?
No, my thing.
Your thing is running out of juice?
Yeah, I need another pill.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, not enough Viagra over there.
Oh, Jesus.
Boy, oh boy, what a day in the markets today, you know, like the exuberance, the festivities, the party continues. It's just like pow, pow, pow.
Rarely I blow my horn.
Blow your what?
Trombone. What kind of bone was that?
Jesus.
So the other day, 2 days ago, we were sitting here, and I said, if Tilray does this, it could go to 100 quickly.
Yeah, and what happened?
Well, today it went to 102, I saw, maybe more.
What the hell's going on there?
Like what? Yeah. And how many shares are coming free trading in 3 days?
Well, did you see the press release they put out? That
they don't want to sell.
That Privateer Holdings, that owns like 70% of the stock, was not going to be a seller. So there you go. These guys are, you know, putting their head down with the horns out, addressing the market, and doing a hell of a good job. Like, this is textbook 101, how to communicate financially.
This is the pro game.
This is the pro game,
hey,
exactly.
You guys think you know how to play this game? We'll show you how to do it.
Here's how it's done.
Yeah, let's do it the pro way.
Right. Yes, well, and Brendan's going to be in here in the next couple of weeks, we're hearing.
Hey, I hear Gary Latham's going to be on today.
Gary Latham is going to be here today from High Hampton.
Yeah, I hear he's he's a no-nonsense guy.
Yeah,
and, you know,
he's
the stock.
He takes the reins, and next thing you know, they got 6 licenses in California.
Whoa!
We're going to have an update on the. We're going to have an update on Brexit from a young chap who will know, in no uncertain terms, exactly what it means to be a Briton on the eve of Brexit, or non-Brexit, whatever it's going to be. Anyways, that's Conor is going to be joining us a little bit later to give us the Brexit update. Dmitry Zaytsev is here, the Russian analyst with the beastly portfolio. And
why don't we just call him the Russian? Then the
Russian. That sounds dastardly. David Kadekel is here. He's, for the first time, he's the managing director of AltaCorp Capital in the research department, and he's got some great insight on GW Pharma and on Valensgrow, and get this, on Auxly, which is one of their top in their coverage universe. Yeah, they got a $1.50 price target on Auxly, which is, you know, now we're hooped. Now we have to say nothing but nice things about Auxly because they've got some serious coverage.
Auxly is capped, I believe, at about 350 million, is that right?
And then Eric Adams is going to be joining us. He's the CEO of InMed that we had yesterday, which didn't really pan out all the way. We're going to have a little product review here from Yes, from Adamo Barbieri and Sean Cookson are going to give us a little update. And then at 4 1/4, we're going to run through the week's bloopers. In other words, where Ed and I basically look like even bigger fools than we really are. Well, actually, that's, you know, as yet undetermined. For all we know, we're very foolish or just moderately foolish.
I can't seem to get my computer started for some reason.
No, that's too bad. Maybe it's out of batteries. But never mind that, Ed. Here's Nurse Ricky with the news.
Thanks, James, and here are the headlines moving markets today. Aphria Inc. has reported that Chief Executive Officer Vic Neufeld and co-founder Cole Cacciavillani will be transitioning out of their executive roles at the company. Both Neufeld and Cacciavillani will remain on the board and work closely with Irwin D. Simon, Aphria's recently appointed independent chair, and President Jacob Ripstein to plan the succession and ensure an orderly transition. Aphria earned $54.77 million, or 22 cents per share, in fiscal Q2 as Aphria report their financial results today. Aphria's net revenue also rose 63% during the quarter to $21.7 million, including just over 1 month of initial sales to the Canadian adult use market. WeedMD and Pita Pit Canada have announced the national launch of retail services provider Pioneer Cannabis Corp. Pioneer will provide retailers with a variety of services, including, but not limited to, identifying locations, providing assistance with licensing and security processes, point of sales, and payment systems. It will also help with the marketing services and training platforms that will include cannabis educational programs, each in accordance with a unique regulatory environment in each province and municipality. Curaleaf Holdings Inc. has announced a series of agreements that will expand its operations as well as patient access to medical cannabis in the state of Maryland. The agreements will include the completion of $30 million in convertible financing with the owners of HMS Health LLC, HMS Processing LLC, HMS Sales LLC, and MI Health LLC. The agreements also include a $2 million acquisition of an option to acquire Town Center Wellness LLC. Blisco Cannabis Corp. Announced a newly formed strategic partnership with Pharmadrug Production GmbH for distribution of Blisco's product in Germany. Pharmadrug will actively promote Blisco's dried cannabis product across its expansive medical cannabis network in the German market. Pharmadrug is a private pharmaceutical company headquartered in Hamburg, Germany, and an international distributor and manufacturer for pharmaceutical products in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. Privateer Holdings Inc. declared that it does not have plans to register, sell, or distribute the 75 million shares that Privateer owns in Tilray Inc. when the lockup expires next week. And that's your news for today.
All the news that matters right there in one little nutshell. Jesus. How about that, eh? 22 cents a share from Aphria, and Vic Neufeld is stepping down, and Mr. Cacciavillani.
What was the top line revenue?
57 million. Up 67% from the same quarter last year. But the question is the share price rising because of the 22 cents a share in earnings, or because Vic and Mr. Cacciavillani are stepping down, and by extension there will be no more involvement of the the dark and nefarious. No more Slim Shady deals. No more Slim Shady for Vic and for Aphria. But yeah, quite a development. I wonder if that's a result of the the other side of the shareholder coin, sort of saying, okay, you guys have had your fun, now step aside and let's sell this thing all bundled up to Green Growth Brands. I expect there'll be some negotiation. There'll be a sweetening of the offer, because you're going to see probably Aphria is going to continue to pack on value, and yeah. Green Growth Brands is at a 52-week high. What's it at? So, well, last I checked, it was 580. 580 a share. So, these guys got to come up with $7 a share to buy it at 11, assuming that deal goes forward. The posturing in the press has been like, no, we don't like this deal, even though we know that there's some behind-the-scenes pre-existing communication between the two parties, which gives everybody a sort of sour taste, which is probably why Vic and Mr. Cacciavillani had to fall upon their swords. Nick? No, not Nick. There's no Nick. Saint Nick, but he was here last month. Now he's gone. He was Russian too. Maybe good on GGB for jumping in and saying, well, let's pick up this. How about GGB hiring that Toronto City Councillor? Massamodi, what the hell's his last name anyways? What's Toronto City Councillor doing on the board of a major cannabis brand? I think didn't High Hampton used to have a council, yes, an elected official, David Argudo, but yeah, that was different. That was in California, where they were trying to get permits and licensing and everything. And they did. Green Growth Brands is essentially New York, Fortune 500 pedigree. And they got this guy on. I don't know. He's not held in high regard in many circles. So it's a huge question mark as to why Green Growth Brands would do that. And I can't wait to get the answer from the horse's mouth. We will be talking to Peter Horvath about that in due course. Anyways, what else is going on today? Hampton Holdings has had a major reversal of fortune after bottoming out at 14, 16, 17 cents. There's a new CEO in town, Gary Latham, who joins the company from their one of their acquisitions, Calamity Jane, I believe it was called, and I'm probably Mojave Jane. Mojave Jane. Hey, you stand corrected. I stand corrected. So joining us now is Gary Latham. Gary, how high are you? Hi, how are you? How high are you? I like that.
I'm doing well, but I really like Calamity Jane. I think we're going to have to use that.
How about somebody turns on the IFBs in there? So Gary, give us a quick overview. Can you hear Gary? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Gary.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we got it. Gary, can we start with an overview, please? Hey. Hampton. What is the business model of Hampton?
Good. First, I want to tell you, I'd really like to use Calamity Jane. I hope you guys aren't going to take that off the table.
No, that's all yours. That was my mistake. It's all yours. Mojave Jane was a great name too, though.
I like it. I like it. We get a lot of good response to Mojave Jane. I can't wait to add the sub-brand of Calamity Jane to that. That's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, you bet.
So, yeah, thanks for having me. I know you guys have spoken to High Hampton in the past on a number of occasions. And the business that we're in is focused in California today, and that business is to bring together a number of different capabilities across the spectrum in California, from cultivation to manufacturing to creation of edibles and distribution, and be able to create and manage the brands that we want to take out to the market, and then also control the distribution path out to the market as well. So we're set up in two places, Southern California, in the town of Cudahy. You may have seen yesterday that we received 6 licenses to operate there, which is terrific news for us. You guys follow the California space, and you know that if you didn't receive a license prior to the end of December, you're in for a bit of a long wait, we think, in this part of the new year. So we were very happy to get those licenses issued and be off to the races.
You bet. What? So 6 licenses. That was kind of a eye popper for us. What are the 6 licenses entail? Are they 6 cultivation licenses, or 3 cultivation, 3 extract? What exactly is the mix, and how do we sort of determine a value of those?
Right. So the licenses go across the span of the business of the licenses that are available in the state of California. So we have a handful of small cultivation licenses. The facility is 15,000 square feet. So as you can imagine, cultivation won't be the key business in a 15,000 square foot building. The balance of the licenses are for manufacturing. So we have in California what's considered a Type 7 license that allows us to do both volatile and non-volatile types of manufacturing. So we can produce products completely across the spectrum of the manufactured concentrates and what have you. And then we also have a distribution license there. And then very importantly, we also have a what's called a non-storefront retail license that allows us to do delivery out to across the state of California, actually. So that's the set of licenses that we have.
Wow, so that makes you rather completely vertically integrated, doesn't it?
It does, and what's interesting though is, you know, we already hold a number of those licenses in other parts of the state as well. So Mojave Jane has a Type 7 license in the city of Coachella. Cali Gold, another one of our subsidiaries, has a manufacturing license in the city of West Sacramento. Our delivery organization subsidiary called Bravo Distro has a distribution or is in process for getting a distribution license in Sacramento as well. So this just kind of adds to our ability in each of these local municipalities.
Interesting. Tell me a bit about your background. You came to High Hampton through Mojave Jane. Tell me about the Mojave Jane brand and how you guys developed it and how that's going to assist you in making High Hampton a success overall in the California market.
Yeah, that's a great question. First, I'll get you excited about me in general.
I already am.
So yeah, buckle up.
Okay.
So I actually have had the good fortune to live through the high-tech entrepreneurial days on the East Coast of the U.S. and also out in the Silicon Valley, and had the fortune to be part of or lead a number of startups in that business, as well as be part of Fortune 50 companies that acquired the businesses that we built. So I lived through the process of, raising money and the early high expectations of a complicated industry. and balancing those with shareholder interests, and then being able to take those businesses and do something interesting with them. It's not unlike what's going on right now in California in this market space, where we have the opportunity to grow these businesses at a pretty hectic pace. And so I'm excited to do that. The skills that we bring to the table, the rest of our team are very execution oriented. But one of the things that I really liked about High Hampton and the subsidiaries that we have is that California's got this unique kind of position, which is that it was built on a bunch of kind of rebels in the space who kept at this business for years at very high risk to themselves personally and certainly to their businesses. And we embraced that kind of person who did that, and our subsidiaries that we acquired are very reflective of that culture. So the challenge for us and the real model here is take those kind of rebels and entrepreneurs who've been at this for a while in the face of legal challenges and allow them to take a breath now that it's legal and bring real business discipline to it and take it out to the market. And that's going to be the fun path for us.
You bet. All right, Gary, that's a great introduction. We're going to leave it there for now. We've had some frozen image issues with Skype, but we'll come back to you in a week or two and carry on the conversation. I look forward to seeing you in Toronto soon. Keep up the good work with High Hampton. Thanks very much.
Sounds great. I hope that wasn't on my end.
Great. Okay, so
thank you, Gary.
It's a whole new day for High Hampton.
Well, it's more than doubled.
Yeah, I know.
From the low.
I know. So are you buying it?
Well, you know what? The problem with a trader is you buy it at a great price.
Yeah.
And tax loss selling, which I'm sure there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you sell it, and you think, I know I want to step in now. Yeah. 12 cents higher. But I look at. There's all kinds of things out there.
Well, 6 licenses in High Hampton is nothing, or in just one area is nothing to sneeze at. That's fully like got the courier, extraction. They can make edibles. They can make concentrates. They can pack.
And is Gary the impetus for all this?
Well, that's just it. I think. I think right now in the share price, you're seeing a lot of little bit of hesitation because it's been so volatile.
Right.
And so much of the promise in High Hampton has yet to sort of trickle down to the share price. But I don't know at this price. I'm thinking of still going in and buying it if it doesn't fall off.
Well, I'd give it a day or two.
Yeah.
You know what?
Right.
There's lots of girls to dance with.
There's lots of girls at the dance. Lots of boys too. Lots of people dancing. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Anyways, so that's great. I'm glad to see he's taken over the show. Not that the guys weren't doing a great job, but this is
right.
This is kind of what was needed. Let's see, it's 3:19, so we're a little bit ahead of the schedule.
Are we?
Kind of.
I see Google's going across down $14.
Google?
NASDAQ's down 22, S&P's down 6.
Who cares about those? We're talking about cannabis stocks here, right?
Just trying to...
Like, what's going on with weed? Weed is still powering higher.
But I think the candle today looks a little toppy.
Oh,
I think
really?
It's sort of halfway between the high and the low.
You don't say.
Just saying.
Wow, you do say. I guess my NDI's not working. That's a given. Damn it.
Oh, hope I don't fall.
Don't fall out of bed, Ed. Yeah, so look at that chart. It's, well, $50.39.
Okay, so it hit 53, right?
It touched a high of 53.17 today.
Yeah,
and it's starting to curve downward. It'd be great if we had a chart up, but actually, I'm going to.
Well,
do this.
You know what? You're going to
There's the chart.
You're going to get a chart up here.
This is the intraday chart.
All you have to do is ask.
Yeah, doesn't really work for me.
Okay. Why?
Well, look, because this works well. Look, see, here's the chart. This is the midday.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The chart is now. The chart apparently is now on the screen.
I don't see it. Oh, there it is.
Well, you. See, you wish it, and it happens.
That's not the chart we're talking about, though.
No. Wait, yeah, it is.
That was Amex exploration.
That was which one? Amex?
Amex. Yeah,
hey,
okay.
Guys, don't steal my thunder here. Got some surprises planned. Jesus.
Here's a company that I've been looking at. The symbol is BLVD. Boulevard Recovery. Now, this is do you remember Roger Green and Michael Dawson of the patient home monitoring fame? So those guys have ridden off into the sunset with their sacks of Gold Day blooms. Probably won't be seen on Bay Street anytime soon. But they've left in their wake these great opportunities. Patient home monitoring changed its symbol to PHQ and consolidated the shares and now has reported earnings, and it's a brand new story. So there's two stocks we want to talk about. PHQ, yes. Pull up a symbol on that if you can, Ed.
Which one?
PHQ on the TSX.
TSX or TSX
PHQ.
Venture? Wait, what am I, deaf? Okay, CA.
Okay, we got to finish this little dialogue here, though. What's it looking at? How does it look? Can we get it up on the screen?
Not a valid symbol. PHQ.
Colon.
What exchange?
TSE. TSX.
CA.
Anyways, so that's one of the ones we want to look at. But the main one we want to look at is BLVD.
Okay, let's look at BLVD.
And so BLVD is like 4.5 cent, 5 cent stock. They got a new guy on, Nitin. And this guy has been instrumental in several companies coming to the cannabis space. Where the hell? Boulevard Acquisition Corp. That's not it. Jesus. Jesus Cristo.
Okay, here. Okay, Boulevard. I got Boulevard up. BLVD. Put it up there.
Let's see it up on the
control room. Take over.
No NDI, eh? Okay.
Where's my NDI?
We're just going to have to make smoke signals, charts out of smoke signals. Actually, that's the last time we use NDI in this universe. Anyways, so let's see. BLVD is a 4 cents.
It's 4 cents.
4 cents. So I bought 1 million shares of this last week at average cost of 6 cents or something.
Jesus, you overpaid.
And yeah, well, that's my style. Buy high and sell low. But there's a chart. And so this thing has been rat-bagged all to hell, and now it has some new management in there, and we're going to have him on the show. And it's becoming a cannabis play. So, 4 center, that's just dipping a toe into the cannabis space. There was a conference call last week where they announced officially they're going into cannabis, and so we'll see.
Just got a text from Christian Scovena.
Yes.
Wants to let you know, through me, via me, that Gary's going to be in town the 29th and 30th of January.
Fantastic.
Let's have him on the show.
I think that's a hell of an idea.
Okay.
We should probably buy some stock before then.
Let's move this thing up a bit.
Let's take a position.
Let's get our position.
Let's show these people how it's done.
Let's show. Okay,
anyway, so here, what do you think about Brexit?
You know what? Much ado about nothing, I think.
Well, listen to what our young friend Conor has to say about this.
With March 29th, 2019 not far off, the deadline for UK Prime Minister Theresa May and Her Majesty's government to negotiate a deal with the European Union is fast approaching. So how are things going on the other side of the pond? Shit, basically. Everything has gone to shit, which is part of the reason I'm in Canada right now. It's a bit like watching your village get swept away by a tsunami from the safety of a tall tree. Although, in this tree, I can legally smoke weed, so that helps. In short, the British public made a decision that almost no one in government, except for maybe this guy, actually wants to enforce, and now everyone with any shred of responsibility for the whole debacle is just sat around, pissing all over each other, trying to figure out how best to mitigate the effects of leaving the largest trading bloc in the world. The chances of Theresa May actually getting anything through Parliament at this point are at best slim, and it seems like crashing out of the EU without a deal is becoming more and more likely by the day. Throughout the process, Theresa May's cabinet have been resigning left, right and centre, with more to come in the next few weeks, and the government may very well need to resort to a second vote, which has been affectionately titled the People's Vote. by members of the opposition, as if the first referendum was voted for mostly by cats and other small rodents. And that, James, in a nutshell, is Brexit. I hope that made sense.
That's depressing. I mean, do you know the whole Brexit thing is turned into quite the farce?
As most things in politics end up.
Well, but this is this rising wave of nationalism, inspired by the likes of Donald Trump. You know, basically every dirtbag in the countryside decides that they're going to scream about leaving the largest trading bloc in the world, as Conor so aptly puts it. They vote yes with no plan, and now it's like, it's like they're the laughing stock of Europe. I mean, really.
Well, yeah, but you know, there's always two sides to the story, right? Like Europe, I'm not so sure this whole European thing. Like I really don't know enough about it, but I kind of like to see someone go on their own and say, you know what, you guys figure it out over there. We're going to be over here.
Yeah, well, that's a valid nostalgic perspective. But do you know why?
Nostalgic.
Do you know what the compelling logic is for the idea of the Eurozone? Unity and the absence of war and economic cooperation. And yes, it's charming and lovely when somebody goes independent and the underdog breaks free, but in a tightly interwoven community that has so many nations in such a small place, which means frictions run high at the slightest offense, they really need to come up with a good strategy to keep it all together. I think the Euro experiment was a complete success, and I don't think it's an experiment. It's an inevitability.
How are things looking in Greece right now?
Well, exactly. Remember all the shit we heard about Greece, and Greece is going to fall apart, and Greece is this, and Greece is that. Well, they've had to tighten their belts, and now, you know, the quality of life has arguably gone down. But are they out of the woods? Not really.
Are they still drinking ouzo?
Well, this is the thing. Retsina and ouzo have not slowed down in the diets of the Greeks. So, you know, Brexit's a good thing.
Yeah.
Brexit's a good thing.
Is it?
I mean,
Brexit's
the Euro is a good thing.
Wait a minute.
Brexit.
I'll tell you what. I'll be pro-Brexit. You be pro-Euro.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
All right.
Say something. You're the host.
You are not going anywhere without severe punishment on everything you do.
Are your papers in order?
You're supposed to be Brexit.
Well, when you're in Brexit,
Brexit
you
has
need
a British
papers.
accent.
I need. Oh, cheerio.
That's like Chinese British. Okay, no more imitations here.
Okay.
All right, let's
British.
talk a bit more about Aphria's earnings. $54.7 million top line, 22 cents per share. That is nothing short of
miraculous.
Stupendous.
54 cents a share.
It's incredible.
Is there any extraordinary items in there?
Extraordinary items, Ed. Jesus, I didn't know you were going to ask me that. But
the tough questions.
Yeah, the tough questions. You know, I meant to have this up on my... Well, you know, no, doesn't look like it.
Why not?
92% increase in kilogram equivalents sold, reflecting partial period sales.
They made 92 cents a share.
22 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
22 cents. And how many shares are there?
200 and some odd million.
So they made $50 million.
50, yeah. Net income of 54 million.
Net income?
Yeah.
On what kind of revenue?
Net revenue, $21.6 million.
So they made $50 million by selling $21 million of product.
Wait a sec.
Yeah, something's wrong here.
Net revenue, 21 points. So net revenue is X of cost of sales.
Yeah.
So there is no gross revenue number in this press release.
So really there are some extraordinary items there. That's what we're saying.
You know what we're going to have to do, Ed? I'm afraid we're going to have to look at the actual financial statement, because that's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of this. Cedar, Aphria. See how fast we can do this. There it is.
Dmitry knows apparently.
Dmitry knows? Well, we'll be talking to Dmitry very soon here.
Dmitry's knows.
All right, let's take a quick look. Come on, interim financial statements. Don't embarrass me. Oh, of course, we have this stupid CDAR codification. V3D6Q. Really embarrassing how
Dmitry knows. Dmitry's got all the answers apparently, and he's going to be here shortly.
Yes.
So why don't we let him get over here?
Here we go. Whoops, where am I? Revenue, $24.5 million. Now, for the 3 months ending, cost of goods sold, production costs, $9.9 million. Other cost of sales, $1.5 million. So, okay, so the gross profit before fair value adjustments, $10.1 million. So that's the quarter. The 6 months. You know, this is a very confusing statement.
You know what? Dimitri's got all the answers. He's going to be on shortly. Why make it complicated? Let's
all
do
right,
it the easy
so
way.
other news that we heard today that is worthy of mention.
Trivia?
WeedMD and Pita Canada announced the launch of retail services provider Pioneer Cannabis. Pita Pit Canada. Now what the hell's going on there? That's going to be interesting. All right, so anyways,
what do you think?
Time for a trivial thought.
Pursuit?
Trivial concept.
Okay.
A trivial idea.
All right, time to test your knowledge. So we're used to grabbing a coffee, a bag of chips, or a chocolate bar out of a vending machine, right? In fact, here in Canada, one of the reasons we got rid of bills and turned to $1 and $2 coins was to let the vending prices jump. But weed from a machine? In 2013, that particular dream actually became a reality. So here's the question. Which state installed the first cannabis vending machines? Was it A, California, B, Colorado, or C, Mississippi? We'll give you the answer to that skill testing question shortly on the show.
Dmitry Zaytsev is here. Dmitry, welcome back.
Happy to be here as always, James.
Tell me what you're buying, what you're liking, what you're selling, what you're hating.
Yeah, we're accelerating this process, aren't we?
Right.
This whole interview thing. I mean, I bought a bunch of canopy around a week and a half ago, but nowhere near the kind of allocation I wanted for a longer term position. So maybe only 20 to 30% of what I was looking for before this move started going. So very nice move. Right now, I've sort of scaled out a lot of that. Why? We just rallied way too far, too fast, in my opinion. And for that diversity's sake, I bought a little bit of puts.
Wow. Okay, so that's hedging your bets.
Well, I've scaled out of those positions that I had earlier. I also wrote puts before, and I was doing that way more aggressively, like the last week or 2 or 3. And so all of those things just decayed to zero, which was good because I wrote them. And so I bought them back for very cheap, and that worked out. But as always, you always wish you did a little bit more.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so tell me, what's your take on the whole Aphria announcement today? 22 cents a share in earnings, plus Vic is hitting the road.
So I don't know if the NDI or whatever we have here is linked up, but if the control room, there we go. Okay, so we got some numbers here. Cool. I thought it was surprising, generally speaking, that, or at least it goes to show what the market is thinking when Vic is going to be phased out and coal is going to be phased out, and on what I see as relatively disappointing numbers, in my opinion, that the stock rallies a lot.
So do you think that the stock's rallying because Vic and coal are on the way out the door as opposed to in reaction to the earnings?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think is happening.
And why do you think the earnings are no good? 22 cents a share, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys were just talking about this, but I don't know if it shows here, but yeah, so a good chunk of that, 75 million or so, is from gain or loss from equity investees and gain on long-term investments. Something that kind of concerned me when I was looking at this is, just from their highlights here from the MD&A, is the fact that they burned through over $100 million of cash in a quarter. So if you see here, right around the 313, 184, and you'd be thinking they're building out their facility and all of that, but there's still a while, I think, before that's really fully completed. I think it's completed, but their internal wiring and all that is still sort of in process, as I understand it. And I think they also they don't have a grow license for it yet, and there's no sales license either. So I think it's going to be a little more delayed than previously guided, which I think is a little bit of an issue as well. As far as I understood it in my quick little morning look at it.
You caught more than I did, that's for sure. Okay, so then you think that this rally that has sort of characterized the market since the beginning of the year is over effusive. You don't think it's got legs? You don't think it's going to keep going? Well, so if you look at the chart, the first chart I brought along here as well, it's just the canopy chart from, yeah, there it is. This is a pretty big break. There's some really solid volume behind this move, and I think this is just, you know, U.S. institutional or retail investors after the Constellation and Piper Jeffries, I guess, initiation of coverage. And you got a big move. Part of it is definitely short covering. There's a lot of shorts that were in here, and you know, I've been short, I've been long. Most traders are as well. To get greedy enough to be staying in a short position when it's, you know, in the mid 30s already, getting to the low 30s, especially when a good chunk of their balance sheet is cash. Yeah, I think that's just a little greedy. And as we've spoken on the program previously, I think the names you want to keep are Canopy and a very few select other Canadian names, and the rest you should focus on, you know, ancillary and US and very niche sort of plays that you've done a lot of due diligence on. And you know what, Canopy, I think, I don't know if Aurora's caught up to them yet, but I think Canopy is the top performer in terms of the larger cap stocks in the recent couple of weeks. Sure. What about Tilray? I haven't looked at them too much. I think there was an announcement today where Privateer Holdings is going to delay the unlock, but and I think that's why they rallied when I was looking at it at pre-market, which it's interesting, but I'd like to see more of the numbers come out for a lot of these names. I think the Canadian market is not as hot as everyone thinks it's going to be. And only a few players will really do a good job. So just going back to even the breakdown here of the revenues, so 21 million net. I think last quarter they had 13 or something. So only about $8 million of revenue from a month and a half of rec, in essence, right? I could be wrong. Like I have to review this. This was early morning before work, right? But some of the other things I'm looking at here is the general and administrative expenses. So as well as, you know, selling, marketing, all of that. Kind of surprising that R&D is only $600,000 for the quarter. That was Aphria, or that was Canopy? No, this is all Aphria, yeah. Okay. This is from today. This is fresh from this morning. Right. And this is just a breakdown of that SG&A. So kind of what I think a lot of analysts are trying to understand, and investors, what they're trying to understand is what the real run rate when, you know, this company actually scales up. What's the actual run rate going to be, and what are these margins going to be? So what you'd be looking at is the operating margins after all of the operating expenses, which is currently negative, which is, you know, negative 21 million right now. Trying to understand that a little bit better, and the dollar per gram costs and all of this stuff. It doesn't really matter right now, and it's a bad number right now, but you really have to do a little bit more work to try and understand what the steady state expense line items look like. Yeah. And so all of these, like, you know, 22 cent or whatever gains on investment, that's not like a sustainable long-term sort of strategy. Sure. In addition to the $100 million burn, there is an increase in debt from 140 at May 31st to 302 million as of November 30th, which is like, what? Yep. I mean, so is the spend that we saw coming in the form of debt, or is that from cash on hand? I mean, well, clearly it's both. Clearly it's both. Right. And I think a lot of these names, they're really running. At this rate, you know, Aphria is only going to have another, you know, 3 to 5 months of cash, right? If they continue spending it like this. And as you've seen, the sales numbers, even if it's, you know, that was only a month and a half, aren't that impressive. And, you know, it's true that the OCS and other producers had issues as well, right? I think Aphria had a labeling issue where they had people licking the stamps or something like that. Well, that was common, I heard. Yeah. So, you know, hopefully that will improve the numbers. And, you know, there's edibles, there's stores, there's a rollout. But you know what? Of the 5 people that I know that were buying from the illicit market, I think only one of them or 2 of them have tried, and one of them sort of switched off to the legal market. And so the numbers that I was looking at, you can find it online. They have their own online stores. A lot of these illegal
dispensaries, and their prices are pretty good. They're like their AAA, 5A, whatever bud, 1 ounce is at the most expensive stuff that they have is at the lowest end of what OCS has.
Sure.
In terms of pricing, so I think it's a hard sell for now. And
so do you think then that the Green Growth Brands buyout of Aphria at $11 is going to be sort of like a coup de grace that might actually breathe new life into the whole Aphria value proposition while transforming Green Growth into now becoming that big brand royalty company that it envisions becoming based on its past association?
Yeah, I think Aphria used to be a very interesting and strong story a year ago or so, and now it's become a dumpster fire. And this Green Growth Brands thing is, it's great that they're raising that $300 million or whatever, but it's just, they're going to need it for I think, all the expenses and, new investments and ventures that they're going to have to go through.
Right.
And it'll be very interesting to see that as we sort of see consumers choose brands that they like, companies that they like, we'll see, I think a lot of interest from investors really dry up for a lot of these other companies, and so like in all kind of booms and busts, you're going to have some names dry up. Not saying Aphria specifically, let's say, but capital markets are cyclical, and I think we get to actually see what the cash flows look like. And then people will start basing decisions on that. Think about it. What are the catalysts now? There's really the U.S. expansion, right? And I had a chance to speak with some of actually 1 or 2 people from the management teams of some of the large MSOs this week, and they're doing some very impressive numbers. They're doing some very impressive things there. I encourage everybody to take a look at the U.S. names.
And which ones in particular? Curaleaf, I know, is targeting $225 million run rate.
Oh, I think it's even more for 2019.
Okay.
But like the Ianthus, Curaleaf, Acreage, Green Thumb, just some names.
Ianthus is an interesting name. There's one that really hasn't rebounded from the tax loss discount that kicked in at in Q4 2018. Why is Ianthus not sort of demonstrating sort of a participation in the herd movement to the upside?
I think Ianthus has been around a long time, so it doesn't have that same excitement factor. I think you're giving too much credence to retail investors and how they look at some of these names. I think over time, especially in 2019, as the revenues from the U.S. really start coming on, and you're going to get to compare companies' valuation, whether they're EV to sales or EV to EBITDA. I think Ianthus is definitely one of those stocks that will do really well in that kind of environment. One thing I will caution, though, and I don't think too many people know about this, but in the U.S. there's something called 280E. So it's the IRS code there, which says you can't deduct and claim tax credits on the sale of a Schedule 1 or 2 substance, which cannabis currently is. And I'm not saying that this is something permanent, but it's just something that's going to really hurt margins for a lot of these names. And so if the company you're looking at has a very large retail dispensary type presence or makeup of their revenue, that may not actually translate to as much EBITDA as you hope it would for the next couple of years. Probably.
Right. I noticed in the listing statement of Acreage that the structure of their acquisitions was such that it was designed to circumvent the negative implication of 280E in that they were offloading those things into separate vehicles.
Yeah, SPVs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure that's definitely one way to do it. And I don't know how much you want to play around with the IRS in terms of this.
Right.
But sorry, going back to Canopy and all these big moves, like one of the reasons I like Canopy is they have a significant amount of cash. They won't need to dilute themselves. And as the U.S. sort of starts opening up, they'll be able to deploy that capital, whereas for other names, maybe they won't be able to raise as favorable multiples. So another chart actually, and it didn't load quite properly, but I'd like to put it up here. I didn't update it until recently, until this big move started happening, but it might be a little bit of a complex chart. But in essence, what you have in blue on the left here, the Canopy's price over the last year or so, let's call it. And on the right is a moving average of open interest of calls and puts.
Okay.
So this is just a ratio. So for example, here at 1, so roughly, I don't know if my mouse is on there, I don't think it is, but roughly around 1, is when there's as many calls written as there are puts, right? And so what this kind of shows, for example, currently this line is really up there, so it's around 2.5, 3.
So that's the ratio of calls to puts?
To puts.
Okay.
In all strikes, at all expiries. So what's interesting about this, it means there's 3 times more calls created than puts.
That indicates bullishness.
So I would argue yes, and the reason why is because I think there's not a lot of option sellers that go into the market to actually sell. I think there's a lot of retail option buying, and the banks, they're just market making them. So if you look at this chart, once again, if you pop it back up, what you see is around the periods where you had big declines or big rises, you see that ratio sort of move back in. So for example, before the Constellation deal, you saw this really big rally of all these people buying more calls than they were buying puts. And then as you sort of had that rally going into October 17th, you saw that number sort of stabilize. And this is a 20-day moving average. So it smooths it out a little bit, just that way, as opposed to being all over the place.
Right.
And so recently, if I had checked this and updated this chart, there is a really intense amount of buying in terms of call options versus put options.
Oh yeah.
So if you see the ramp earlier on the chart, they're closer to the end, and that could have presaged this big move that we saw. Technically, you saw a lot of good things line up in the last week or two. Equity markets stabilized, Powell, further came off, and sentiment really improved. And so we were sort of in this good move where there was a lot of bearishness and short interest that was just ready to be squeezed out. So that's why I think we had this big move.
Okay, so the ebullience in the cannabis sector has been, in large part, I'm sure you would agree, driven by broad market strength. We saw price of oil coming back. The S&P has delivered, I think, 8 positive sessions in a row now. Is this trend, is this effusiveness in the cannabis sector, is it reliant 100% on the broader market movements, or is it in some degree non-correlated to the broader market movements? I mean, if we look at the Q4, we saw it was very closely correlated to the broad market. But in Q1 2019, we're seeing cannabis have much bigger moves to the upside than does the broader market.
Yeah, I would just say that cannabis really in the last, until these last 3-4 days or so, has actually underperformed the broader market. And you would think a high risk, high growth segment like cannabis, you would think it would have a much higher beta, and so it would actually rise 2 to 3 times faster than the market. So I feel like cannabis is just playing catch up right now. Generally speaking, during sell-offs, correlations increase between asset classes, and all that really means is just when everything's going to shit, it all just collapses together. But when markets are stable or they're in this small uptrend, maybe not huge bullishness, sort of each sector takes a life of its own, and that it's more driven by, I think, news and more, I won't say fundamental, but sector specific
headline catalysts.
Headline catalysts, well, which I guess cannabis, that's the fuel that's been driving that.
Sure. Okay. So then, what is your macro strategy in 2019?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this rally, and why I'm not getting super bullish or anything right now, I think this rally in the S&P 500 is done for now in the very short term. So we're talking like next couple of weeks. I could be wrong. Let's see. I think a lot of people, were a little scared, a little shaken after that December run we had there. And some of the numbers I saw and things I heard was a lot of the retailers missed yesterday. So they talked about guidance. And what's interesting is the consumer in the U.S. was spending aggressively through like November and the holiday season, but for some reason it seems like around December they really slowed down their purchases, and this could be just due to the wealth effect. So if you have an IRA or you have in Canada TFSA or whatever, and you see your stocks dropping, your net worth dropping by 20%, you say, yeah, maybe I shouldn't get that $1,000 thing I really wanted to get on credit today. And so that could have a feedback effect. So generally speaking, what's my macro strategy? That was your question. I think it's great that cannabis or some of the key kind of names have broken out. As we've been talking, it was time in the last couple of weeks to really start scaling in. Now I think you wait. you let things kind of consolidate a little bit, see how the next quarter of the other LPs pans out. I think have some more exposure if there's any kind of rollover this next couple of weeks. Buy some of the names you like, and I think really beyond a few names in Canada that you really understand and like their story, I would really focus on the U.S.
Okay. Dmitry, that's great as usual. We'll come back to you next week. Thanks very much. Coming up right now is the answer to our little bit of trivia.
All right, earlier in the show, we asked you about vending machines. We've all used them, whether we're grabbing a coffee or bag of chips or a chocolate bar. But can you imagine buying weed from a vending machine? Well, that happened in 2013. And we wanted to know which was the first state to install the cannabis vending machine. Well, the answer was Colorado. The Zaz weed dispenser, designed and built by Tempe, was installed across Colorado in 2013 as a medicinal marijuana dispensing service. You need a medical marijuana card and driver's license to use it. Now, originally, it was only used to sell edibles, but in 2015, they were switched to dispense bud, and as laws were relaxed, the company hopes to expand their services for recreational use. But you have to use cash or coins. The U.S. federal government doesn't let you buy weed with a credit card. Let's see. I'll take A5, please.
Wow. Wow, is all I have to say, Ed.
So, Dmitry
pointed out some pretty interesting things about those financials. They blew through $100 million. They added another $100 million in debt. Yeah, so...
So why is the stock up today?
And actually, in response to your query of that, were there any special items? Well, apparently 75% of the reported revenue was from investment activities. So, not at all to do with the cannabis business, but, should we care as an investor if they're going to deploy capital and return that kind of, deliver that kind of performance? Who cares whether it's from cannabis or from investment?
But what if things go a little sour and they have a loss?
Well, then they should tell the CEO and the founding director to leave.
Well, then they will.
I think that's happening already. No, I think that what Cole and Vic have done with Aphria was nothing short of spectacular. I think it's unfortunate that they allowed themselves to be targets by some of the less scrupulous media types out there, and who, and by admittedly probably taking advantage of the cookie jar a little bit more effusively or aggressively than others, and so that set them up for that. Anyways, I wish them well.
Okay.
Today, Ed, we have we saw that Curaleaf, and we're hearing this from all of our guests, that never mind the Canadian stocks, which are fully valued relative to their U.S. peers, which are trading at discounts. And
U.S. stocks are trading at discounts?
Relative to the Canadian LPs.
Maybe not Tilray.
Well, Tilray, this is the thing though, Tilray is not a U.S. operator. Tilray is a Canadian operator.
Trading in the U.S.
Trading in the U.S., right. But we're focused on U.S. operators trading in Canada.
Really?
This is what everybody from Todd Harrison to Dmitry to even Steve Hawkins from HMMJ ETF said, though they can't buy U.S. operators trading in Canada, he thinks that that's where the better compressed value is. So I think you and I should be looking more closely at this because it's a consistent theme. And I want to start looking at some of the names that we might consider of among the Canadian listed U.S. multi-state operators, and I just happen to have a really great little portfolio to look at, which is all of the U.S. operators operating in, or U.S. operators listed in Canada. And so that's this one right here. Let's see, whoops. Now, the interesting thing about this is that probably nobody will be able to see it because I won't be able to get it up on my NDI. Okay, Ed doesn't have this in his
NDI
quote stream. Well, you don't have the. Okay, In the meantime, actually, let's pull out that other laptop. In the meantime, though, I had a conversation for the first time with the Managing Director of Research from AltaCorp, which is the investment arm of the Alberta Treasury branch, which is Western Canada's largest branch. And David, oh boy, his last name was a tough one to pronounce, and it's here as soon as I see it. Kideckel. David Kideckel is the gentleman who I spoke with, and here's what he had to say.
Okay.
Hey, David Kideckel is here with me now. He's the Managing Director of Research at AltaCorp Capital Inc. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, James.
You bet. David, AltaCorp is Western Canada's largest investment bank. It's probably one of the best kept secrets. Give me a quick overview of what AltaCorp is and who's behind it.
Sure. So, I think AltaCorp Capital, one of Bay Street's best kept secrets, full capital markets investment bank based here in Toronto with offices both in Calgary, Denver, and Buenos Aires. We're backed by Western Canada's largest bank called ATB Financial, which provides companies full suite of banking products, whether that's debt, lending, etc. So on the one hand, we have the capital market side, and then we're also backed. Our majority shareholder is ATB Financial.
Sure. And you just had a conference here in Toronto that was really well attended. I've heard about it from so many people, which led me to find out who you are and how to get you in the studio. Tell me about the conference and what's the sort of the mindset at AltaCorp around the cannabis industry.
So we just hosted our 7th institutional investor conference here in Toronto. The first day focused on cannabis and life sciences. The second day was around oil and gas. The third day was in diversified industries. But we're here to talk about cannabis.
Okay.
So the first day, it was our most successful conference to date. We had a number of leading both U.S. and Canadian companies come in. I was moderating a number of panels, both with companies dedicated to recreational and medical cannabis, as well as cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals, or the pharma side of cannabis. There was just such a great buzz. There was standing room only. We held it at the Shangri-La Hotel, and we just can't wait for next year's conference.
You bet. I can't either. It's interesting. The pharma side of cannabis is widely anticipated to be where the greatest value creation is going to occur in the whole cannabis complex over the lifespan of the industry.
Sure.
And you've got direct knowledge, and you guys cover GW Pharma, which is the maker of Epidiolex, the first FDA-approved drug for use in children that is cannabis-based. Tell me about GW Pharma and what is their sort of future pipeline hold in terms of future value for investors?
Sure. So maybe I can just take a step back for a second to really provide some oversight as to what AltaCorp research actually brings.
Okay.
So we cover, like I said, not only medical and recreational cannabis, but the pharmaceutical side of cannabis as well, or cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals. This is in stark contrast to any firm, whether that's Bay Street or Wall Street, where you'll typically see medical and recreational cannabis in one franchise, and then the pharma side of cannabis, or cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals, in the other. So it's a core capability that, from a research standpoint at AltaCorp, we're really just thrilled to be able to bring to our clients. Now, GW Pharma, we just launched this week. The world widely recognized as the world leader in cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals. We're the only Canadian firm to actually cover GW Pharmaceuticals. Just spoke with them, in fact, this week. And to your point, James, their lead compound, Epidiolex, made history back in June when the United States FDA approved the first ever plant-derived cannabinoid for therapeutic use ever. And then subsequent to that, the United States DEA rescheduled Epidiolex, which is 98% CBD, rescheduled from a Schedule 1 illegal substance to a Schedule 5 substance with recognized therapeutic uses. So we're just thrilled to have coverage of this world leader in the space, and certainly any company that I engage with, especially on the pharmaceutical side, looks to GW for the right way to engage through lawful regulatory and commercialization practices.
So now, is GW strictly focused on cannabinoid extracts and compounds, or is cannabis extracts and compounds just a branch of a much larger platform?
So GW Pharma is widely regarded as the authority in cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals. So everything they do is focused on cannabinoids, extraction. They do all of this themselves in-house. They're based in the UK with corporate headquarters as well in Carlsbad, California, which I've been to, of course. And besides CBD or Epidiolex, again, which is their lead compound, which we've forecasted to be a blockbuster drug exceeding $1 billion in sales, They have a number of other cannabinoids that are currently being studied. There's another drug as well that's approved for use in the UK, or in Europe, I should say, called Sativex. It's a 50-50 split between THC and CBD. It's used for spasticity that's associated with multiple sclerosis. So GW has an extensive pipeline, we believe. They're not a one-trick pony, and we're just thrilled to be able to have a knowledgeable team that's able to actually cover a company of this magnitude.
Right. GW Pharma then is, I mean, what's the market cap of GW Pharma right now?
They're around the $4 billion US dollar mark.
Okay, so from your perspective, is that just sort of like the early stage of where this company is going to go valuation-wise?
We think so. I mean, we've put a target price of $160 US dollars on them. The last time I looked, they were trading at just north of 120 US, of course. But we think this is the real deal in cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals.
Wow. What other companies in the landscape that are perhaps nowhere near the valuation of GW might investors be warranted looking at that might have a future similar to GW Pharma's?
It's a really good question. I'll take a step back again and just say we just launched coverage of the entire sector this week, and in that we've compiled and provided a lot of insight around cannabis, both from the U.S. market standpoint, Canadian standpoint, and international markets, where we've pegged what we think the market sizing opportunities will be. We've also explored cannabinoid-derived pharmaceuticals to provide investors and clients with up-to-date knowledge. In fact, I've heard from several folks saying, just complimenting the level of rigor involved in this industry overview piece. So we're very pleased to have that. I'm happy to send that to you if you'd like as well.
You bet.
Within that report, we also launched on another couple of companies called Valens Growworks, which is based out of Kelowna, BC. We think it's one of the premier businesses in the entire cannabis sector, focusing really on extraction, and that's their core capability. They have leading partnerships with Thermo Fisher Scientific, where they have a center of excellence at their Kelowna operation, as well as the Canadian exclusive rights to a company called Terrakino, a US-based company that's involved with beverages and looking at emulsification technology. The other company that we launched on this week was called Auxly, which we also feel is a very undervalued company involved in the streaming businesses, and in particular, what they can offer in both the midstream segment and the downstream segment, we feel is they're really going to do well, and we forecasted them as well for a price target of $1.50.
Wow, interesting. I also noticed that you had coverage of Aphria and Liberty Health Sciences, and that's of sort of interest right now because there was this attempt by a group of short strategists to undermine the credibility of the company and achieve a exit at a lower price, which by all accounts seems to have fizzled and failed. And certainly the idea that a company like AltaCorp covers Aphria and Liberty Health Sciences kind of puts you in the opposite position to say, you know, with quite serious authority that nice try, guys, but you really missed the bar. Did they really miss the bar?
So, for full disclosure, we don't cover Aphria or Liberty Health Sciences. We did in the past when my predecessor was holding my seat.
I see.
So we don't hold coverage of Aphria or Liberty Health Sciences. That said, I was on the earnings call, as I'm sure a lot of analysts were this morning, and there was, of course, news with the CEO and one of the board members stepping down. Which is it's interesting. I think maybe somewhat expected from what I've heard from a lot of people. That's what I can comment about.
Okay, that really clears the way for Green Growth Brands, who's made a takeover offer at $11 a share. I mean, it looks to me like they're just getting ready to say, okay, here you go, guys, have at her.
Well, it's an interesting way to look at it for sure. Certainly today the stock has been rallying quite a bit because in large part the short seller announced right during the actual earnings call that they're moving on to other projects now, and Aphria now is no longer a target for them.
Wow, interesting. So tell me about Auxly. What is it about Auxly that you think is really going to drive the share price higher in 2019?
So we think they have both Canadian and international operations. We really feel that a centerpiece of Auxly is their DoseCan operation, which is based in Charlottetown, PEI. This is involved in similar extraction processes and techniques to say a Valens as well. And it's going to allow them to produce white label products, branded products, DoseCann also has the exclusive rights to Canada and Mexico for another well-known Colorado-based brand called Dixie. I've toured the Dixie site as well. And so we feel that they're positioned very well for success. And really what's key to Auxly is a centerpiece of their business model is really it's well risk mitigated because they're involved with a number of different streaming partners throughout the board. And they're also involved with very high margin product segments like the edibles, beverages, and those kinds of products once they actually come online in Canada by late 2019 sometime.
Wow, very good. All right, David, let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you as soon as you possibly can be here again, full of excellent insights. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, James. Pleasure.
So what do you think of David? I think we're going to learn a lot from him.
Yeah,
He's going to start sharing some research with us.
So how many companies is he involved with, do you think?
Well, so as he said, that they've just launched coverage on Auxly, on GW Pharma, and on Balansgrow. So not many. The guy before him, they were covering Aphria and Liberty Health. David wasn't able to speak too much about that, but
okay.
Yeah.
Where does he live, David?
David is in Toronto, based in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to be, or is he? No, sorry, I think he's here. Actually, I don't think I got where he was actually based. What else do we want to cover today, Edward?
Well, I think we should take a look at Tilray.
Tilray. Okay, you pull up the Tilray chart.
Okay, let's see if we can do this.
Let's see if our lives can be unhindered by the technology gods.
Watch this. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now. Oh. I goofed it up here. All right. Okay, I'm going to put up Tilray. Enter. Okay, so let's put up a 6 month. What?
Is there no? I don't see any chart up there, Ed.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay.
If anybody,
like a Yogan Fruz kind of moment?
If anybody ever wants to start a streaming enterprise like this, do not use new tech hardware. Do not use new tech. It is garbage. Garbage. Absolute garbage.
Can you get it up now?
All right, you know what?
Can you get it up in there?
Can you get it up? Those are young fellas in there. They should have no problem with that. Pills or no pills. You know who we had here a little earlier, and the reason I want to talk about Eric's company InMed is because Eric is basically doing the same thing that GW Pharma did, which is to develop drugs based on cannabinoids. They're going in a slightly different direction than GW Pharma in that they're going to be biosynthesizing their own cannabinoids. So market cap of InMed, less than 100 million. Market cap of GW Pharma, 4 billion.
What?
Yeah, $130 a share today.
40 to 1.
Yeah. So if you put them side by side, I mean, GW Pharma has an FDA-approved Epidiolex out there in the marketplace.
But this is a bona fide pharma co.
Yeah, InMed.
Yeah.
And it was $1.88 back in March, and today it's trading at 55 cents. And I think I might take a closer look at it. Anyways, here's Eric Adams, the CEO of InMed, to tell us a bit about what they're doing. Eric Adams joins me now. He's the CEO and president of InMed Pharmaceuticals. Eric, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet, Eric. We had an attempt at a conversation yesterday, but unfortunately Skype didn't cooperate with us. So let's resume the conversation. But let's kick it off again with a quick overview of what exactly InMed Pharmaceuticals is.
Sure. Well, InMed Pharmaceuticals is exactly that, a biopharmaceutical company that is specializing in cannabinoid medicines. So what we're doing is looking at individual cannabinoids, which are drug components found also in the marijuana plant, and we're trying to develop those into prescription-based pharmaceuticals to treat diseases with high unmet medical needs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you've got one product that's actually already quite advanced, and I think it's important to differentiate for our subscribers that this isn't just a it's not a drug development company per se, it's a drug development platform that will be used to create a whole brand new family of cannabis-derived drugs. Is that more or less accurate?
It's pretty accurate. I mean, we don't grow any cannabis. We have no association with the plant, other than we understand its genetic makeup, and it's a source for over 100 different cannabinoid drugs. And what we're doing is looking at those individually. We are biosynthesizing those in a laboratory setting, and we are taking those individual drugs and making those into prescription pharmaceutical products.
So you're doing the biosynthesis of cannabinoids yourselves?
We intend to, yeah. We're in the process right now of taking what we've learned from a laboratory setting or a benchtop setting, and we're scaling that up with a number of different partners to commercial scale. So that's a process that's going to take us at least 2019 to pull that together. We've been working on this biosynthesis process for over 4 years now, just trying to understand the genes that we need to create in order to get our bacterial system to actually make cannabinoids. So that's been a big hurdle that we've gotten over. But yeah, we're pretty excited about it. And together with these pharmaceutical partners, these contract manufacturing organizations, we're going to be, furthering that scale-up process.
Okay, so you're currently developing a drug that addresses the butterfly syndrome, which is a real orphan sort of segment of in the disease world, isn't it?
It is. It's a rare disease. Its formal name is epidermolysis bullosa. It is a condition also referred to as butterfly child syndrome, where the integrity of the skin is very poor. So at the slightest touch or scratch, you can actually rip the skin and have an open wound. And we're looking at that from 2 points of view with cannabinoids. First of all, cannabinoids are capable of treating a number of symptoms that these patients are dealing with on a daily basis. That includes things like accelerated wound healing, pain, itch, inflammation, and these cannabinoids are also antibacterial in their nature. So one product we believe would be able to address a suite of these symptoms that they have to deal with on a daily basis. The flip side of that is we also know that cannabinoids can regulate the keratin production in the body, and keratins are responsible for a subset of these patients, and I should say the misregulation of these keratins is responsible for a subset of these patients. So what we're looking to do is use the right cannabinoids to upregulate keratins to hopefully lead to some degree of disease reversal in a subset of patients. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach.
Right. Interesting. So that's fantastic for sufferers of this condition. We were speaking to the analyst at AltaCorp earlier today, David Kodaikel, and he was indicating that he felt that GW Pharma's Epidiolex was going to become a blockbuster drug, defined as a drug that sells over $1 billion worth in a year. Is there anything in InMed's product pipeline or sort of future plans that contemplates a blockbuster type drug?
Absolutely. So the product INM 750 for EB, while it's a very small patient population, has a huge potential just because of the amount of product that you'll use on an annual basis. Other products that have been investigated for this indication have been projected to be billion-dollar products. So I think we're kind of squarely in that blockbuster category. Looking downstream, we're going to be considering products, and we're developing products for glaucoma, which is currently about a $6 billion or close to that market, and others for the application to treat pain. So those are both very big indications and huge sales potential, and we hope to be a competitive player in those markets.
Sure. What's the timeline to development of these products before they're in the marketplace?
Well, INM 750 is our lead program. Currently, we anticipate being in our first human clinical trials in the second half of 2019. And then that will be followed then by more advanced phase 2 and phase 3 trials down the road. So it's a little early right now to project what the commercial date for this product would be. We still have a lot of clinical hurdles to get over, and it'll be a number of factors playing into how quickly we can get through these clinical trials. So I don't want to speculate on how far. It's certainly several years away, But how far out in the future, it's very difficult to say at this point.
Sure. How much money is it going to take you to get there? I mean, do you guys have enough cash on hand to get to your objectives, or are you going to need to do some more capital raises in 2019?
Well, 2018 was a really big year for us in terms of capital raising. I think we raised about $24 million. Currently, in our accounts, we've got about 25 million in cash. That's enough to pay for all of our programs for the next 2 years or thereabouts. So I think we're in a very good cash position right now. As we go forward, of course, clinical trials are not inexpensive. We will have to contemplate at some point additional cash raises. But we also have hopes that our biosynthesis process, which we'll use not only for our own pharmaceutical products, but we will make available to other people under licensing agreements, we hope that that will be a cash positive business before the actual pharmaceutical products reach the market. So that would be a big boost for us if we can get to that point.
Sure. Where is the main operational activity of InMed?
Well, we're located in Vancouver, but we work with contract manufacturers and research organizations around the world. So we're very active in Israel and Europe and across Canada. And as we begin to expand our clinical trials into phase 2, which would be probably in 2020, we'll be branching into the U.S. into other jurisdictions as well.
Wow, that sounds great. What are the other areas in medical science that for which cannabinoids are starting to indicate some real potential?
Well, epilepsy, of course, is what GW has pursued, and they have an approval now in the U.S. for Epidiolex. So if you look at epilepsy, other neurological type conditions, other cognitive conditions, I think cannabinoids are going to make a real breakthrough there. We're looking at the topical application, so our products won't be ingested, at least not at this stage. So we're applying them topically to the site of the disease. We think there's several advantages to doing that. So we're looking at various skin conditions. We're looking at diseases of the eye, including glaucoma, and then topical application for pain. So that's kind of our sweet spot right now. We'll see, as opportunities arise, we may branch out into other directions. But, we're all just scratching the surface. The cannabinoids are going to be a mainstay, I think, in a very broad range of disease categories. These things are active throughout the body. We have receptors for them throughout the body. And I think really we're just getting started as a new branch of medicine to treat a wide range of diseases.
Sure, you bet. I look at the price of GW Pharma, which I think is somewhere around 120 US a share today, and I look at the price of InMed and I think, if the potential is for InMed to get a FDA-approved drugs onto the global marketplace, then obviously there's an incredible opportunity here. And so we're going to continue to follow your story very closely, and we'll leave it there for now. But thanks very much for the update, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Nice talking to you again, and I look forward to next time.
You bet. That's what I'm talking about.
So the value obviously is looking at GWG. I mean, they're not
GW Pharma.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They're not really comparable completely, but
they're not peers.
But
InMed is where GW Pharma was 5 years ago.
Wow.
So I mean, this is 55-cent stock.
Market cap is how many billion in 4 billion in GW Pharma?
GW Pharma is over 4 billion. Yeah.
And we're at 100 million.
Yep.
Jesus. Anyway, just want to follow up because we didn't get a very good reception with Gary Latham. They're going to come in on Tuesday, January the 29th.
Yeah.
So let's just make a note.
What do you want to bet the stock is higher than?
What do you want to bet?
Yeah.
I want to bet a couple cups of coffee.
A couple of cups of coffee?
Yeah.
2 cups of coffee?
2 cups, a couple. Couple's 2.
Okay, I'm in.
So when you say a couple of people, that's not 3.
No, a couple is 2.
And what's a few?
Well, a few can be 1 to many.
No.
Can't be 1.
A few is not a many.
Is it 2?
No, I think it's 3 or 4.
3 or more.
It's all in there, though. There's all this,
Yeah.
How about some?
Some. Well, now that's
okay.
2 or more.
Yeah, I want to put. What's the symbol for InMed? Let's take a look.
IN on the TSX.
Not okay. What do I do?
A couple of people. That's not three. That said,
yeah. You know what? I don't know how to work this computer. It's an MSI.
Huh?
Missing in action. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to take all your suggestions under advisement.
Let's check in with Adamo Barbieri and Sean Cookson, who are going to give us a little edification on what some of these strains are all about.
I'm interested in bloopers.
That's at the end.
Okay. Sean and Adamo here with a segment called
Wow! Oh, here we go, here we go. Here we go, here we go.
Breaking down the different strains available and providing you with the information that you need to know.
So you're not that guy at the party who's in the corner looking at his hands saying, they're just like feet, you know?
Yeah, or not being like this guy. I've seen that guy. Yeah.
I was that guy.
Never been that guy.
No, you're too good to be that guy.
Sure, I'll take that.
Number 1.
Pineapple Express combines the potent and flavorful forces of its parent strains, Trainwreck and Hawaiian. This strain was popularized by California medical dispensaries and loved for its smooth, fruity head high that creates a potent cerebral intensity. It's been said, and I concur, that it gives you a very creative and energetic high. With a 60-40 sativa-indica ratio, its THC content ranges between 15 and 26%, and, not too surprisingly, it has a pineapple-like fruity smell.
Number 2.
Other than just being the best named strain out there, it's also what Sean calls his genitals. The Granddaddy Purple strain brings us back to the 1970s, where veterans were returning from the Vietnam War. They'd return home with the new purple strains that were uncommon at this time, and since then have evolved into what we know as Granddaddy Purple. Granddaddy Purple consumers look to the strain for pain relief, stress, insomnia, appetite loss, and muscle spasms.
Number 3.
White Widow is one of the most famous strains worldwide. It's a balanced hybrid, first bred in the Netherlands by Greenhouse Seeds. Its roots are Brazilian sativa and a resin-heavy South Indian indica. Born in the 90s, its buds are white with crystal meth. Whoa, sorry, slip of the tongue. What I meant to say was crystal resin. You're hit immediately by a powerful euphoric energy that will either make you want to clean your entire home or have your creative mind racing while taking an hour to put on your socks.
Number 4.
Blueberry Kush is a strong indica strain with a high THC potency that provides you with a high body sensation. With its fresh berry aroma, this strain will put you to bed with its long-lasting indica type high and will help you with pain management, insomnia, nausea, and has even been used to treat anorexia.
Number 5.
Although this strain isn't the most visually appealing bud to look at, CBD Shark offers up a powerful pain-killing physical high. It is an 80-20 indica-dominant cannabis strain with an equal ratio of THC to CBD, usually ranging from 6% to 10%. Those were the 5 strains of the week.
And here's your tip of the week. Don't get caught with your pants too high up on your hips.
No, it's don't get caught with your pants down. I think that's what he meant.
I mean, I'm good with that. I'll stick with the pants too high up on your hips. It looks awkward.
Okay.
I don't like the look.
Back to you, James.
2 officers, both of them white, searching on my pockets, interrupting.
That was
Those
pretty good.
boys.
That was pretty good.
Those
guys,
boys are hilarious.
I think they were. Sean might have been high when he was doing that, I think.
I would expect that they'd both be high all the time.
So am I. Hi.
Hi, Ed.
So am I.
Hi, how are ya? How high are ya? Hi, how are ya? How high are ya? Hi, how are ya? How high are ya? Hey, ho, hi, ho, wee, ha. Anyways, We got 2 minutes of bloopers.
Well, let's fire them off.
No, not yet.
Why not?
It's only 4:25. We have a couple of more smart things to say. Ed, smart thing number one.
Smart number one. Should I?
What? What were you saying there? Anyways, let's look at some of our...
It's been a long week. I think, okay, can I make a suggestion?
Well, yes, but no. I wanted to acknowledge some of our guests here. JC, we've seen you quite a bit in the last week. Welcome to our little universe. Very nice to have you along for the ride. Shevet Keto Static Bafanifi. Love it. Great to see you there again. 30 mil, loves us. Awesome. Henrik Slojblom. Hello, 30 mil. Hello, Robert Ruiby. Hello to you too. JC, there's you again. Anyway, so yeah, we love the fact that we have this sticky audience of all you people who are tuning into our diatribe, as it were. What are you going to do this weekend, Ed?
Not much.
You going to smoke any ganj?
I think I'm meeting a buddy. Yeah, I'm going to meet a buddy, and he grows his own.
Really?
He's got some really good product.
You know what I'm doing this weekend? I'm setting up my 4-pod hydroponic grow tent.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can you sleep in the tent too?
Well, you can either sleep in the tent or grow weed in the tent, but you can't do both because it's either...
Why wouldn't you want to be there and protect because you're worried if you're growing it, someone's going to steal it. So you better sleep there with it.
No, nobody's going to steal it. It's legal now. And besides, I sleep with a giant machete beside my bed. And in my drawer, I have a .48 caliber pistol for which I'm fully licensed.
You use that machete to cut down the stalk when it ripens?
.45 caliber, rather.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. You asking me? Coming up next week, Organigram CEO Greg Engel is going to be here. Warren Bravo, the CEO of Green Relief, which just is about to begin trading, or did, is going to be here. WeedMD CEO Keith Merker is going to join us. Scott Hurd, who is the co-founder and CEO of Westleaf Cannabis, is going to be here. I can pretty much guarantee that we're also going to talk to Nathan from JWC. We've got Brendan Kennedy is circling according to his people, and we might have a conversation with him very quickly. We've got Matt Bottomley, who's the equity analyst focused on cannabis from Canaccord Genuity, joining us next week.
Good.
So next week's quite the show, a bunch of shows. Going to be lots of great intelligence there, and it's going to be another week of trading. But now to wrap us up and take us into the weekend is our weekly bloopers. Drum roll.
SNN. You're making me very nervous. Weed is we ed. YMCA.
What a twat. Here, let's try this again.
What did you say?
I said, what an idiot.
Big day, eh?
There. You look like a carnivore to me. Yeah. Anyways, we couldn't buy dynamite back then. Nor that we can now.
Cannabis gets rid of your short-term memory. That's what I'm thinking.
Why do you say that, Dave?
You know, it's an aggregate that. I mean, things can only. Maybe they should change the name from cedar to oak.
Boy, that's a hilarious one, Ed.
Earth Ed. Wake up, Ed.
That is going to be spectacular. Now, here's the news.
And this morning in the Superior Court of Los Angeles, California, the Inception Company's founders Brent Cox and Omar Mangalji this morning in the I can't do it. Okay. For alleged breaches. I was so close. This. The Inception Company's this morning in the Superior Court of Los Angeles, California. Sorry, guys. Brent Cox and Omar Mangalji. Okay. For allegedly breached